Let me see that ass move.
On July 2nd, 2025, dozens gathered at Artis Lounge in downtown Chicago for the album release party of rising rapper Mello Buckzz. The music played, drinks were poured, and cameras captured the event. But just after 11 p.m., as the night reached its peak, gunfire erupted from a passing vehicle. In less than 10 seconds, 18 people were shot, 4 were killed. The victims, Devontae, Taylor, Leon, and Aviance, arrived expecting a normal night out. They left in body bags. The shooters have not been identified. No arrests have been made. The motive remains unclear. There were dozens of witnesses, but no clear leads. Bullet casings were recovered. Surveillance footage is under review. Still, the case remains unsolved. Artis Lounge had a documented history of violence. In 2022, its previous identity, Hush, saw a fatal shooting. Despite this, the venue remained open and hosted a high-profile event with limited visible security. Why? The city of Chicago, already dealing with increased gun violence, now faces another mass shooting with no answers. For families buried their children, for lives cut short, and a community left with questions. What happened that night? Who pulled the trigger? Was this a targeted hit or random retaliation? Why has no one come forward? And why does this keep happening? This is the full breakdown of the Artis Lounge massacre, a case with surveillance, shell casings, witnesses, and still silence. If you're captivated by real crime stories that peel back the layers of truth, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us as we uncover real cases, raise awareness, and give a voice to the voiceless. Before we dive into today's story, we want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? And how do you feel as the story unfolds? Welcome to Deadly Crime Unmasked, the show where we expose the shocking crimes that rip through communities and the chilling secrets lurking behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications. You won't want to miss the gripping story that's coming up. Now, let's dive in.
Search for the gunman who opened fire outside a River North nightclub. This mass shooting happened in just seconds. 18 people hit, many more traumatized.
And this is the video that shows the moment as someone inside that car opened fire on the crowd gathered outside of the Artis Restaurant and Lounge. It's on Chicago Avenue in River North. 4 people were killed, 14 people hurt. Natalie Martinez live tonight at Northwestern Memorial Hospital after speaking with some of the victims' families. Natalie?
Stefan and Allison, those victims went to several hospitals in the area. 9 of them came here to Northwestern. We were told late this afternoon that 4 were in fair condition, 1 was discharged. Meanwhile, tonight, we spoke to several of the family members of those who didn't make it. Devontae was among dozens at a release party for a local rapper who apparently had rivals.
This wasn't some random shooting. They didn't care who was struck, and in a matter of seconds, they were able to shoot 18 people.
We spoke with family members of a few of the victims tonight. At least one also fears retribution by whoever sprayed bullets across a crowd of people just leaving Mello Buckzz release party at Artis Restaurant and Lounge in River North.
There was just a body outside of our door. And there was just a lot of blood everywhere.
This as we approach the 4th of July holiday. Last year, more than 100 people were shot and 19 were killed.
Devontae Williamson was a 23-year-old man from Chicago, known for his outgoing personality and deep connections within local business circles. He was the boyfriend of rapper Mello Buckzz, the host of the event, and attended the release party in support of her career. Devontae was also a father to a 2-year-old child. People familiar with his background described him as well-liked and sociable, with a visible presence in neighborhood entrepreneurial efforts. He arrived at the event with Mello Buckzz and was seen interacting with friends and other guests. According to attendees, he spent much of the night close to the artist and remained near the entrance shortly before the gunfire began. He was among those fatally shot in the incident. Taylor Walker was a 26-year-old hairstylist from Chicago. She had no criminal background and was widely recognized for her dedication to her family and her profession. Sources indicate she maintained strong ties to her community and had worked with several clients from the entertainment and fashion industries. Taylor was invited to the event through social connections and arrived with a group of friends. She was near the exterior of the lounge when the shots were fired. Her injuries were critical, and she was pronounced dead shortly after arrival at a local hospital. Aviance Drexler, commonly known as Avi, was a 27-year-old healthcare worker residing in Southside Chicago. She was a close friend and longtime associate of Mello Buckzz. Avi had previously volunteered in local clinics and was documented to have participated in several community-driven health initiatives. Reports confirmed that she had helped coordinate parts of the event and was seen near the VIP area. She was hit by gunfire outside the venue and succumbed to her injuries within hours of the incident. Avi's death marked a significant loss not only to her personal circle, but also to the health community where she worked. Leon Henry was a 25-year-old Chicago resident actively involved in mentoring programs for youth. He had no affiliations with known gangs or criminal groups. He was known for participating in local workshops and school events aimed at reducing street violence. Leon arrived at the event independently. Witnesses say he was mingling near the bar area during the earlier part of the night and later moved toward the exit when the crowd began thinning. He was caught in the crossfire and died from gunshot wounds shortly after being transported by EMS. The event began around 9 p.m. Artis Lounge, located at 311 West Chicago Avenue, downtown Chicago. The venue had recently rebranded from its previous identity as Hush, which had also experienced a prior shooting in 2022. Approximately 75 to 100 people were in attendance. Guests entered through a red carpet experience. Photos and video clips shared online showed a typical party atmosphere: music, stage performances, and social mingling. Mello Buckzz gave a brief live performance and appeared on Instagram Live, interacting with fans during the event. No metal detectors were reported at the entrance. A small number of private security personnel were present, but it remains unclear whether they were trained or equipped for crowd control or threat management. No pat-downs or bag checks were publicly reported by attendees. Approximately 11:05 p.m. As guests began exiting the venue, a dark-colored sedan pulled up outside the entrance. Witnesses reported that the vehicle slowed down near the curb, and in rapid succession, at least 3 gunmen opened fire from inside. Law enforcement recovered shell casings from 2 distinct calibers, indicating the use of both handguns and rifles. The gunmen remained inside the vehicle during the shooting. The entire assault lasted less than 10 seconds. According to Chicago police, the attackers discharged over 30 rounds. Victims were struck near the entrance, sidewalk, and in some cases, just inside the front doors.
In Chicago, police are searching for at least one gunman behind a deadly drive-by mass shooting. This happened late last night as people were leaving a party at a restaurant and lounge. You're looking now at video of the chaotic aftermath. Police say a dark-colored vehicle drove past the crowd that was standing outside. Someone in the car, possibly more than one person, fired into the crowd before driving away. 4 people were killed, 14 others were hurt. NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster joins us now. Shaq, what do we know about this investigation? Does this look like it was a targeted shooting?
Well, we'll expect to hear from police and city leadership in just the next hour or so. All that they've said so far is that there is no suspect in custody and that this is, of course, something that is under investigation. This shooting took place around 11 p.m. last night outside of a listening party for Chicago rapper Mello Buckzz. They say after the event that started around 7 p.m., a dark-colored vehicle pulled up and began shooting into the crowd before speeding away. I want you to listen to what one witness said after the shooting.
And it was absolute chaos, from people screaming to blood on the streets to people laying on the streets, just a massive police presence, just horrific, more than I've ever seen.
This happening in a downtown area, and the restaurant and lounge hosting that party released a statement overnight saying, in part, our hearts are with the victims and their loved ones. We are working closely with the authorities and taking steps to ensure continued safety of our community. This is an area where there were a lot of video cameras around. You can bet that will be part of this police investigation.
Yeah, that surveillance video. Shaq, what are we learning about the victims? What do we know about the people who survived?
Well, the rapper whose party this was for and celebrating, she posted on her social media saying that her boyfriend was among the victims and one of her close friends was among the victims. 4 people were killed in total, 2 men and 2 women. We know there are still several people hospitalized at last check. While 2 have been discharged, there are still 3 people who are in critical or serious condition. We know about 12 people were sent to the hospital.
Police and emergency services responded within minutes. Multiple ambulances transported victims to nearby hospitals, including Northwestern Memorial and Stroger Hospital. For individuals, Devontae Williamson, Taylor Walker, Aviance King, and Leon Henry were pronounced dead by early morning hours. 14 others sustained various degrees of injuries, ranging from minor wounds to critical trauma. Most have since been treated and released. No arrests were made at the scene or in the immediate aftermath. In a public briefing the next day, Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling addressed the media and residents. He confirmed that CPD believed the shooting to be a targeted attack, though he emphasized that the specific target or targets had not been identified. The investigation was ongoing, and no arrests had been made at the time of the announcement. CPD noted that no weapons had been recovered from the scene. Authorities reported that the shooters likely fired from inside a vehicle and fled immediately, leaving no firearms or shell casings behind in the vehicle. This limited immediate forensic opportunities. A surveillance review was launched shortly after the shooting. Investigators began collecting security footage from nearby businesses, traffic cameras, and private sources. Video evidence became a primary lead for identifying the suspects and vehicle involved. The department asked for public cooperation and anonymous tips, encouraging residents to submit any video or first-hand observations from that night. At this stage, the CPD confirmed that the incident appeared premeditated and involved at least 3 shooters based on witness accounts and shell casing distribution. The area was cordoned off for several hours, and crime scene technicians began a detailed forensic analysis. The CPD's crime lab processed numerous bullet casings recovered from the scene. Analysts concluded that multiple firearms had been used during the shooting. 2 different calibers of shell casings were found, suggesting at least 2 types of guns, likely a combination of handguns and rifles. This indicated that the shooters were armed with both short-range and high-capacity weapons. However, ballistics testing of these casings yielded no matches in the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network, NIBIN. This lack of matching evidence suggested that either the firearms used were newly acquired, unregistered, or had not previously been used in crimes. Meanwhile, surveillance footage from nearby buildings and businesses was collected. Investigators identified a dark-colored sedan as the vehicle involved in the drive-by shooting. The footage confirmed that the car slowed down briefly in front of the venue before gunfire erupted. Unfortunately, the license plates were either covered or blurred, and the footage did not provide a clear image of the suspects' faces. Additional video captured the vehicle fleeing westbound on Chicago Avenue, then turning onto a side street. CPD cross-referenced traffic data and surveillance grids to trace its path. But as of now, the car remains unlocated and no suspect has been identified. Technicians also analyzed phone data, nearby Wi-Fi activity, and digital communications, but authorities have not released any findings from those investigations. The shooting appeared carefully coordinated, and the rapid escape prevented immediate pursuit. Following the shooting, CPD officers on-site and in follow-up interviews questioned dozens of witnesses, including attendees, employees, and security personnel. However, the collection of useful statements proved challenging. Many witnesses described the moment of the attack as chaotic and confusing, with loud music playing inside and around the venue. Some attendees didn't immediately recognize the sound of gunfire. Initial confusion delayed the crowd's response, and many ran without being able to see the shooters or the vehicle. Multiple witnesses described hearing pops and then seeing people fall to the ground. One witness said they saw a dark car with tinted windows, but couldn't identify the make, model, or occupants. Others reported seeing muzzle flashes, but no details beyond that. No clear suspect descriptions emerged. Most witnesses were unable to see the gunman due to poor lighting, distance, and the quickness of the attack. Despite the number of people present, there were no confirmed eyewitnesses who could identify the shooters. Rumors circulated among the public and online about potential gang retaliation linked to disputes involving some of the attendees. However, law enforcement clarified that no official confirmation had been made regarding a motive or gang affiliation. Investigators continued to explore multiple angles, including personal disputes, rivalries in the local music scene, and past altercations tied to the venue or individuals present. Despite the scale of the attack, the lack of cooperation from key witnesses or inconsistent recollections have slowed investigative progress. In the wake of the shooting, city officials placed Artis Lounge under scrutiny. Located at 311 West Chicago Avenue, the venue had only recently opened but operated at the same address as a former establishment called Hush. Notably, Hush was closed down in 2022 following a separate fatal shooting incident. Officials from the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, BACP, began reviewing Artis Lounge's licensing, past violations, and safety protocols. Early findings reveal violations related to occupancy, crowd control, and event oversight. Given its prior history under a different name and the magnitude of the July 2nd shooting, city officials ordered a temporary closure of the venue. Inspections were scheduled to determine whether it would be permitted to reopen. Alderman Brendan Riley, whose ward includes River North, issued a formal statement condemning the incident and calling for stricter enforcement on nightlife establishments. Riley emphasized the importance of proactive risk assessments before large-scale events and urged city regulators to impose stricter conditions on licenses for venues hosting public entertainment events. In response to the shooting, Mayor Brandon Johnson condemned the violence and expressed concern about a rise in mass shootings across Chicago. Johnson held a press conference alongside law enforcement leadership to urge cooperation from the public and ensure accountability from venues. City officials coordinated with law enforcement to implement enhanced patrols throughout the July 4th holiday weekend, anticipating possible retaliatory violence. The Chicago Police Department increased uniformed and undercover presence in nightlife areas, particularly near clubs and lounges. The city announced a review of its event permitting process. Going forward, venues seeking to host large gatherings, especially those involving public figures or high-profile entertainers, would be required to submit detailed security plans, including contracted security personnel, crowd control strategies, and emergency preparedness measures. The shooting raised further concerns about public safety in areas of high foot traffic and nightlife density. Discussions began within City Council regarding proposed legislation to strengthen venue oversight, expand camera surveillance zones, and impose stricter penalties for non-compliant businesses. The Artis Lounge shooting drew immediate media coverage both locally and nationally. Within hours of the incident, local outlets such as WGN, ABC 7 Chicago, and Chicago Sun-Times reported live from the scene. National platforms including CNN, Associated Press, and The Guardian followed up within 24 hours, broadcasting the scale of the incident. 18 people shot for fatalities and no arrests. The coverage highlighted that this was one of the deadliest mass shootings in Chicago for the year 2025. One of the key reasons the story escalated to national attention was the identity of the event's host. Mello Buckzz, a rising rapper from Chicago, had recently gained regional success with her music. The fact that the shooting occurred during her album release party intensified public interest and media scrutiny. Shortly after the shooting, Mello Buckzz responded through her Instagram page. In her public post, she confirmed that two of the victims, Devontae Terrell Williamson and Aviance King, were personally close to her. Devontae was her boyfriend, and Aviance, her best friend. She posted a tribute with photographs, writing, "My heart broke into so many pieces," and calling the incident the worst day of my life. Her social media post was shared widely and mentioned in multiple news articles, further fueling visibility of the story. On social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, and X, formerly Twitter, the story went viral within 48 hours. Hashtags like #ArtisLoungeShooting, hashtag Justice for Taylor, and hashtag Who Killed Abby trended locally. Users began posting photos of the victims and sharing unverified information, such as potential gang involvement and theories about intended targets. Despite the widespread reach of the posts, no official evidence supporting these speculations was released. Chicago Police Department made no public statement confirming any gang ties or motive behind the shooting. This led to a division on social media between users who were spreading theories based on neighborhood rumors and those urging for restraint until verified facts were published. In the days following the shooting, vigils were held by the families of the victims. These gatherings took place at local churches, community centers, and outside the Artis Lounge itself. During these vigils, family members and friends shared information about the victims' lives, occupations, and routines. Some family members gave brief interviews to local news outlets, calling for the public to assist law enforcement with tips and demanding accountability from both the venue and the city. News segments included statements from Taylor Walker's mother, who called her daughter peaceful and hardworking. Devontae Williamson's relatives expressed confusion about why he was targeted, claiming he had no known enemies or involvement in criminal activity. The families use the vigils not just for remembrance, but to ask pointed questions about why such an event lacked stronger security and why no suspects have been arrested. As of July 2025, the investigation into the Artis Lounge shooting remains open. The Chicago Police Department continues to seek public cooperation in gathering tips and information. A dedicated tip line was announced, and rewards for information leading to arrests were mentioned during press briefings. However, no major updates have been shared since the initial days following the shooting. There have been no arrests, and no suspect have been publicly identified. Authorities have reviewed surveillance footage from the area, but have not released any of that footage to the public. As reported by the Chicago Sun-Times, bullet casings from two types of firearms, a handgun and rifle, were recovered from the scene. This confirms the involvement of multiple shooters. However, ballistics testing has not led to any matches in federal or local firearm databases. Police Superintendent Larry Snelling described the attack as targeted, but not necessarily aimed at all the victims. Despite this statement, no clarification has been provided about who the intended target might have been. The lack of details has continued to fuel online speculation. According to authorities, tips from the public are still being reviewed, though no one has been charged or even named as a person of interest. Law enforcement officials have expressed concern that witnesses may be unwilling to come forward due to fear of retaliation or distrust in the system. Community leaders have echoed this, stating that fear in local neighborhoods often prevents eyewitness cooperation in cases involving gun violence. As the case stands, the following critical questions remain unanswered. Investigators initially stated the shooting was not random. Multiple shooters firing simultaneously from a vehicle suggests some degree of premeditation. However, officials have not identified who, if anyone, was the intended target. No known threats were made before the party, and no individual at the event has been confirmed to have had prior conflicts publicly. Some attendees were public figures or closely connected to Chicago's music scene, which has previously experienced retaliatory violence. Still, the lack of official information leaves this question unresolved. Online discussions quickly speculated that the shooting was gang-related, possibly involving disputes among rival groups or affiliates. Mello Buckzz, while having no confirmed ties to any gang activity, is part of a music genre that sometimes overlaps with street conflict narratives. However, police have neither confirmed nor denied gang involvement. An alternative theory posed by social media users and unnamed sources is that this could have been a personal retaliation, either for a previous altercation at another venue or a conflict involving someone associated with the victims. Again, these remain unverified, and the Chicago Police Department has not publicly addressed the motive beyond saying the attack was not random. None of these individuals had any known criminal records. None were armed. All were described by their families as regular attendees of public events. The question arises, were they simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, or were any of them specifically targeted? If Devontae or Aviance were the intended targets due to their close connection to Mello Buckzz, that information has not been made public. If Taylor and Leon were unintended casualties, then this raises concerns about the level of indiscriminate violence used in the attack. To date, authorities have not released autopsy reports or specific ballistic analysis that might explain the shooter's focus or positioning during the assault. If this story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together, we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.